How do we store our vegetables over the winter? That's what we're going to talk about today on the homestead. Hey everybody, welcome back to the homestead. This is Kevin with Living Traditions Homestead. And we've been getting a lot of questions when we do videos about our root cellar, how we store things down there, and how we utilize that to help us preserve things over the winter. So let's go down and take a look. Alright, so here we are down in the root cellar. If you remember this spring, we did a video where we had this root cellar installed. Now it's not really a root cellar, it's a storm shelter. It's a storm shelter that's rated for, I believe, 9 people to be able to stay in. It's extremely thick concrete, waterproof, has great ventilation, and it goes about 5 feet down underground. Now, I've noticed that in the summer, when it is about upper 80s, low 90s, that down here it stays about 60 to 65 degrees, which has been beautiful. Now that it's getting cold out and we've had several stretches of below freezing, it's actually staying at a pretty constant 50 degrees down here. I haven't come down in the middle of the night during a really cold snap yet to see if it drops during the night, but I can tell you that there have been no signs of anything freezing down here, which is great. Now today, it's almost December and it got up to 75 degrees outside, but again, it stayed at a nice 50 degrees down here all day long. Which is, in our opinion, great. It has been working really well for storing our potatoes. And that's what I'm going to show you today. How we store our potatoes, our sweet potatoes, and I've got our sweet potatoes that I still need to put into storage for the winter, and I'm going to show you how we do that and how we save those for the winter. This is our box of regular potatoes. We harvested a lot of potatoes this spring and some late this fall, but there are also some store-bought potatoes in here. When they went on sale around Thanksgiving time, we stocked up on some store-bought ones as well, and those are down here, and they should make it through the entire winter. That way we can take advantage of some of those money-saving deals that go on around the holidays. So the way that we store our potatoes, first of all, when you harvest potatoes, it's very, very important to not wash them. You want to leave most of the dirt on them. You can, get the big chunks of dirt off, but you don't want to wash the potatoes. And then you want to let them lay out on a table or something flat to let them cure. And you want to do that for a good week or two, so that the skins have a time to kind of dry out. Then you can move them to a more permanent storage location like we're going to do today. Now the way that we do it is we like to use cardboard boxes because they absorb some moisture and they don't hold much moisture in. And then we layer wood shavings along with our potatoes. If you have a wood shop and you have a lot of sawdust and that type of thing, you can use sawdust. I'll occasionally do that when I have excess from my wood shop. Right now what we're using is just a big bag of pine shavings that we picked up at our local feed store because they're inexpensive and they're inexpensive. They work well. So we're going to start with the sweet potatoes and I'll show you exactly how we do this. Got my box here. What I'm going to do first of all is put about, 3 inches of wood shavings down in the bottom. The theory here is that you want to put enough wood shavings that the potatoes aren't touching the ground, and then as you get a layer of potatoes in, you want to put enough wood shavings that the next layer of potatoes isn't touching the first layer of potatoes. You don't want them touching each other. And then also, the wood shavings will draw out some of the moisture from the air and everything else and just help keep the potatoes nice and dry and act even as more insulation if the temperature were to drop below freezing, which again, I don't think it will, but it just helps normalize the air temperature. So we're going to just put some wood chips in here. Okay, so we've got a good layer of chips in the box. Now we're going to take our sweet potatoes. Look at these sweet potatoes. It amazes me that these came out of our ground. Alright, so we're just going to start putting the sweet potatoes in again. The goal here is to put, get as many in. You don't want to waste space, but at the same time you do want to leave a little space in between each one. So once we've got a good layer of potatoes, we'll just cover them up with the chips. And it doesn't have to be a real thick layer. Again, you just want, a little cushion in between the layers. And then we'll just start with another layer of potatoes. So that is how we store our potatoes down in the root cellar. We store our sweet potatoes and our regular potatoes the same way. Onions we just leave out. But you do want to make sure they have good airflow, and same with the butternut squash. When we move those down here, we'll probably put them in a cardboard box, but we won't do the sawdust. We'll just make sure that they have good airflow. The main thing is you don't want them to freeze and you don't want them to get too hot. But we're pretty confident that using this method, that all of these vegetables will last us until spring, or at least pretty close. If you live in a place where it gets really cold for a long amount of time, I'm not sure. Here in Missouri, our winters aren't really long, so I'm pretty confident that these will last us probably until March. So you guys, I hope this answered questions that you had about our root cellar. If you have specific questions, go ahead and leave those in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below. And until next time, you guys, thanks so much for stopping by the homestead, and God bless.